In this video, I'm going to show you how we are going to do some basic Java programming and how that you actually will do unit tests as well. Unit testing is a very important part of your job as a software developer. You're going to have to test code you write. That is your number one job and verification, is testing code that you write. In this example, we're going to create a new Java project. I'm going to call this simple math because we're going to do some very simple math work here. And again, I'm not going to use any sort of modules or packages in Java. We're just going to do it straightforward, much like what you would see in many of the programming books. I'm going to create a main driver. Is a main driver because what that means is that we've got the main in this. So we have to click main. Once we click main, we're going to come up with our packages. Now, at this point in time, very simply, what we're going to do is we're going to do a factorial problem. Factorial is where you take a number and multiply it with every number below it. So if you have 5 factorial, it'll be 5 times 4 times 3 times 2 times 1, and it gives us an answer. So we're going to basically emulate this. To do this type of program, we have to first of all create what is called an accumulator. An accumulator is a variable that will hold totals that we will add to it. In this case, I'm just going to call it total because it makes more sense for us to use words that are actually there. Because I want to do a factorial of 5, we're going to start our loop at 5, and we're going to say as long as the count is greater than 1. Notice I'm doing greater than 1 because 1 times anything is itself. So I don't have to do the 1 multiplication. It'll allow me to be slightly more efficient in my code that I am writing here. This loop is going to be very straightforward because all we're going to do then is we're going to take total and we are going to times equal the count. This is how we actually get the factorial to work what we're going to do. When we are done here, we're going to basically output this answer so that we can actually see what we've got in this case. And I'm going to basically show that it's a 5 factorial. So I'm going to say 5 factorial. Let me try to spell this better. And I'm going to say it's going to be a %d followed by a new line. What this is going to do is allow me to print the answer out and do a new line so that I have the next line set up. We will print the total at this point in time. And then if I run this code, you will see I have a total of 120 out of it. This is actually good. It's got it right. Let's say I need to also now do a factorial of, say, 7. Well, now that I've got some of these variables actually defined, I can just use the variables I have, and I can use very similar to what I have before. We're going to once again start count, but we're going to start it at 7. We're going to say count greater than 1, and then I'm going to say count minus minus. And again, using the accumulator, we're just going to multiply the answer by the count we're on. And we're going to then complete the loop, and we're going to basically system.out.printf, and in this case we're going to simply say that 7 factorial, and it's going to give us a outcome answer that we can look at. We'll use the same output variable because that's what we have now. In this case, once I run this, I have my answers. Now, I can mathematically check these out. I know that the answers are right and all that, but there's a problem here. The code is, first of all, in main. I have not been able to unit test this code, okay? It's hardwired. It could have problems, and as you can see, it's repeated if I have to change this. So what I have to do as a developer, I have to figure out how to abstract this out so I can get rid of A, all the repeated code, and B, be able to very quickly and easily test this out to make sure that it's working. This is unit testing, and unit testing is a very important part of a job of a software developer. We have to be able to unit test our code. So what we're going to do here is I'm going to create a public. Now, don't worry about using, if you don't understand the keyword static, that's fine. And then I'm going to call it factorial. And then I'm going to pass in an integer called num, and we'll use num to do this. Now, at this point in time, I'm going to abstract most of the code that we've done up above. I'm going to, again, start with an accumulator called total. I'm going to set it to 1. And then I'm going to do the exact same for loop I did before, except this time, count is going to start out as the value that I have passed in. And again, we're going to make sure it's greater than 1. And then we're going to decrement it by 1. This way I can still do the same math. Total now will always be the same in that we're going to multiply by the count. At this point in time, the only difference is the variable isn't in main. It doesn't know what it is. So I'm just going to use the keyword return, and I'm going to return total. What this is going to do is allow me to abstract out this calculation, this business logic, and put it down into a method that I can use over and over and over again, and this way I can have unit tests. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to now test the unit on this by basically creating myself a new variable that I'm just going to call answer, and I'm going to say answer equals factorial of 5. And I spelled factorial wrong, so we'll fix this up. Now notice I no longer need the loop here. I can just tell the code here I want it to use answer. Now I'm going to change total to be a variable down here, so at least compile. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to show by running this. Notice we still have the answers we know are valid, 120 and 50, 40. So I'm going to run these. I still have the same answers. But I've actually now combined this because I've actually now put it into a method, and I'm unit testing that method just as I am here. So what I'm going to do with the next unit test, and I'm going to show you that we can actually simplify our unit tests even more, because at this point in time, all I have to do is call factorial in place of a variable. And in this case, I am going to call the 7. When I run this before, notice we actually get the same answers. This is the simplest form of unit testing. We can all unit test, we can all abstract out. We need to do this, because if we don't, you're going to end up having code that is not able to be verified easily, and more importantly, you're going to miss requirements. So by abstracting out and doing a manual unit test as we just did, you can ensure that your business logic, or that the functionality, is working as you expect it. And notice I have reusable code out of this. So this is basic programming. What we started out is how the books do. They do everything in main, but they aren't showing you how to verify your code works. We can easily verify the code by abstracting out the key parts of that into a method, and then we can allow that method to be run, and inside my main I can call it with multiple different things to verify I got what I want. That's what we got here. So there's your example of how to do some simple programming in Java and still do your unit tests.